Welcome to the Undressed podcast. I hope this is loud enough. It's definitely new today with an audience, so I'm very curious to see how this is gonna turn out. The whole purpose and intention with this podcast is to basically bring, yeah, great, you agree, bring men and women together and discuss all these things in the open that we usually don't really do. The things that we love about each other, the things that frustrate us, the things that we don't understand, and anything in between. Love, sex, intimacy, relationships, and everything we can find that's juicy, we kind of want to bring it to the table and have a very raw, open, and honest conversation. So today we have a very kind of provocative topic, I would say, at least that's what you said, and which is, can men be considered hosts? And my follow-up question to this would be, what does it actually look like? However, before we start with that, I would love for all of us to just go around, say your name, give us a few cliff notes, a 30-second elevator pitch of who you are and what you would like to share with us. And then we start and actually go into this conversation. Cool? Can everyone hear us here? Perfect.
Hi, my name's Sophia Tengan, and I am here because I'm quite curious myself about this topic. And I am here to learn and to share also some of the things that I have seen a lot in the community here and in the world abroad. Thank you.
Yeah. My name is Kelsey Edwards. I'm an actress, filmmaker, content creator in Los Angeles, the US. And yeah, I'm excited to chat with people from different cultures and countries and connect and get different perspectives that are maybe very different from my own and the way that I was raised. So, yeah.
Hi, my name is Hannah Lucas Goldberg, and I'm a soul fire starter and feminine wisdom mentor. And I work in somatics, symbolism, and storytelling. So I'm curious to see how this will go. I am very curious.
Good.
My name is Thor Arsen. I'm from Norway. A lot of people think that Norwegians are still like we used to be, Vikings. Or not, or the complete opposite. However, the sex culture in Norway is still like it used to be, except for the rape stuff. And so, yeah, I come from a very aggressive sex culture, and so it's going to be fun sharing today. Yeah.
He's bringing Viking back. Yeah. Hi, my name's Aaron Baya. I'm an entrepreneur, speaker, coach. I'm not very excited to talk about this topic. It makes me very uncomfortable, and I don't even want to go into it. I'm here because Sasha asked me to, and this is my business. So thank you for all coming to Karma House. And I don't want to talk about it.
How you doing? I'm Oliver Lang. I'm a retired professional paintball player. Now I make men's clothes, and I've lived in Ubud for 8 years, so I've seen a full spectrum trajectory of what's occurred here in my evolution. And so I'm just honored to be here to talk about such a fantastic topic tonight. And I'm excited to know what you guys think about this topic. I'm excited to share what I think.
Why don't you start then?
What's the topic again?
Do you think man can be considered hosts, and what would that actually look like?
Well, this is a loaded question, but absolutely. And I know for a fact, because I am a man, I also am a host. So I'm coming from personal experience. And, we're living in interesting times, right? That's the old Chinese proverb, maybe we'd be born in interesting times, and we are born in interesting times. And this era of knowing more than just a village of 100 people or 200 people, we're surrounded by thousands of people. You've got 5,000 friends on Facebook. You go to a party, you meet so many people in one night. It's really something, I think, phenomenal that's occurring in the world of evolution. It's like, how many interactions can we have? And if we are moving into some sort of golden era, it's almost like now is the time to, I believe, kind of like not create any more karma and, solve the issues with the potential old souls that you've been traveling with for a long time. And so that's why I think we're really meeting, and why we're all coming together, and why we're sitting here, and what an opportunity it is to to be sitting with you guys. Like, I don't know you, we just met, but there is something there to be said on a spiritual level. Like, why did you three get chosen, and why did us three get chosen? So I believe that we're really in an era to like make amends with a lot of souls, and that's why have the ability to make love and to meet and to interact and to essentially, solve old past things that have been occurring for, I don't know, millennia. Right?
I have a lot of amends to make.
Yeah, right? Karma house. So, it is interesting to be a man in this time, and the Tinder thing does work, but it is an interesting phenomenon, and we can literally be potentially meeting so many people, and why are we meeting those people, and why are we not meeting these people? On a spiritual level, it's something to kind of debunk and to try to understand for yourself, because I think we all deeply want love, we want family, there's a primal urge to procreate, that is just programmed into us to perpetuate the species. So why is it so frivolous now? And the invention of condoms just in general allows such an opportunity to have multiple partners, whereas in before, and also now we have wisdom of Tantra and, all these studies that are like teaching you how to organize your energy body, your sexual energy body. So I think we live in very interesting times, and it's very interesting to be a man in this lifetime, to learn what it means to be a man in this lifetime, and I'm still figuring out, so I couldn't exactly tell you what that means, but that's why I'm curious to hear what everybody else has to say, because I also think it's phenomenal to be a woman. You have an immense gift as a woman to be able to actually grow and create new life, and I'm somewhat jealous in a weird way, that you have this an experience that I can never have in this lifetime.
It's 2023, bro. Men can have babies.
I don't know if you can do that. Maybe.
It's a thing.
Why don't you want to talk about this?
I was just kidding. No, I don't. Well, yeah, my name's Aaron. I'm a recovering hoe. 20s were good times. I used to be a drug dealer. There was lots of drugs around and sex and fun. My life was like a weekend song, like The Weeknd. Like that was like the Trilogy album, not before it got so mainstream. Those are the best albums. Those are crazy times. And I think I used to live really like a rap music video. Like it was just like how it was. Like, yeah, fuck bitches, get money. And then you go to Ubud and it's, like this spiritual version of that, where it's like the same thing but different. Where everybody's...
Can you elaborate on that, please?
The spiritual version or the...
spiritual version of fuck bitches get money?
It's
what does that look like?
It's more like... how would you say this? It's more like conscious play parties and not make money because it's Ubud and everyone's a fucking hippie. It was because when I left and I came to Vancouver, from Vancouver to here, I wanted to be as spiritual as possible, but I saw it's still a very sexually charged place. So there's still like the spiritual version of being a hoe. It's just different. It has like a tantric mask on it or like a spiritual mask on it. So it's the same thing, just different. It's just you're trading the Louis Vuitton, polo for a shirt that's like has holes in it, like the ones, the rugs, that kind of shit. So it was like, it's just a different mask. It's just a different costume. Play is going to play. Spiritual people are just going to still do the same thing. People want to fuck. It's just how it is.
Do you think there's more value to the spiritual hoe approach contra the older version of being a hoe that you described that you lived?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit. It's a little bit. I guess more conscious. You can talk about the connection. You can actually speak of it a little easier. It's a little bit less like. It was a little less messy, messy, but it was a little less drug and alcohol fueled as it would be like in my early 20s, where that was really go out partying, bottle service clubs, all that. Whereas out here, it's a bit more like want to do a yoga class or ecstatic dance or that kind of thing. So it's just a different setup. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about the ladies?
I have a question, and it might sound really obvious, but it feels really important, is how do you define hoe? Does anyone want to take that?
Somebody who just sleeps with a lot of people.
Okay, and when one thinks, it comes from which word?
From which word? What do you mean?
Hoe is short for what? Thank you.
Yeah, but I think hoe is actually a
Gardening tool.
it's a gardening tool.
That is also correct. English is fascinating.
I was planting a lot of seeds.
But I actually think that like the whole connotation of hoe is somewhat ugly to a certain degree. But I don't believe that it's ugly, because what is a hoe? It's actually a very useful utility tool in the garden. You know.
Thank
need
you,
it.
Oliver. Thank you so much for finding a way to make that work. Yeah, I guess the reality is like the word hoe comes from the word whore. And when people think of whore, what do you think of? Like, what is the first image that comes to mind? Is it
Prostitute.
prostitute. Thank you so much, Aaron. Yes, it's a prostitute. And is a prostitute usually a man or a woman? If, like in your mind's eye, immediately you think of a woman instantly, right? So the whole idea of like being a hoe is like, okay, so are you a woman who makes money from sex, right? So then you can get into it that way as well. And so it's like, can men be considered prostitutes,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I know male prostitutes.
I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying the connotation with all of it is actually of importance.
Yeah, no, the connotation is of the most importance and the perspective of it, but that's your own perspective of the negative value of it, whereas there is a positive value.
Did I say that it was negative?
Yeah, because you're implying that only women are hoes and that they have sex for money, which actually is the oldest business in the world and actually has been very futile to the perpetuation of the species for many thousands of years, you know?
So did I ever say that I believed what I was saying, or did I just ask questions?
You did have a little bit of a sharp angle, right?
What is your opinion then about this?
The reality. So the word. Thank you. Thank you for not making
Let's
assumptions.
just clarify. It's like what is
No, I think like honestly. So the word whore comes from the word hara, like in ancient Semitic words, which actually like meant cave, which meant womb. And like it comes from an ancient line of like sex magic and sex priestesses that were actually like using sex to support the elevation of consciousness through sacred sexuality. So actually, I don't think that it's a negative thing. I think it's been turned and twisted into a negative thing over time. Is a hoe. Well, we've gone from something that's like a beautiful. We've gone from.
Fucking gold. It's great.
Oh, did you say? I just got it. Oh, that was well done.
It's pretty good.
I do love a good pun, so thank you so much. Yeah. No, I think that the languaging has like become so dense over times, right? You're coming from a space where like womb lore, womb magic was really celebrated, and the matriarchy was really honored, and the feminine was honored for the power of the womb, like the power we held through our blood, through our menses, through our process of being able to go through life, death, and rebirth every single month, every time we shed and bleed, right? And then it got twisted and bastardized over time into a thing that became like deeply problematic.
Why do you think that is though?
Why?
Yeah.
Actually, I have no answer. I just wanted to be dramatic. Why is that? Well, I actually think that it's, I think women hold tremendous power. We hold tremendous power through our wombs, and we bleed every month. And there's so much potency and magic in that. I'm learning more and more about that every day. And I think that men are jealous. I think you deeply desire to be able to do that. Why would blood rituals have been created?
We're jealous that we don't have a period.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not.
I'm also not really
Yeah.
quite.
It looks
jealous
inconvenient
about
as
that.
fuck.
I wouldn't be jealous.
Thank you
I
for your
wouldn't be
honesty,
jealous.
Oliver.
No.
These guys, you know?
It's not exactly fun.
I've been, so I'm from the United States. I definitely like grew up with all of the indoctrination of what it means to be a woman. And we don't talk about periods, and they're deeply painful, and it's not okay to have them. And nobody wants them, and they're really not okay. And the reality is, the more and more that I allow myself to be in tune with my body and like with nature, the more I realize that it's actually like a really sweet time, and there's a lot of power in that. And like sex magic is real, and like being able to like have sex on your moon cycle, on your period, is fucking real. Sorry, I cursed.
I know.
That was part of your hoe.
No, I'm a team player.
I would love to know actually a little bit about that, because it sounds fantastic. But like, what is that? What is it like? Or like, what is the power of it? What's the point of it? Like, what does it do for people who don't know about sex magic and making love on the moon, and is it better on the moon? Like, I don't have a moon.
Astronauts or
Yeah, you'll go to the moon. Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, I'm curious to hear what the other women on the panel have to say
let's also
as well.
don't forget the topic. Like, I mean, we're talking about sex rituals and blood magic, and like, you know.
Well, I guess. Well, that's fine. We can talk about men being hoes.
Thor.
Like, one thing that's present for me is like the bridge to that, because we can answer the question with one word, like yes and no. But what's interesting to me is like, what is the benefit and the non-benefits of being a hoe, of living that lifestyle? Because I used to do that's and especially in Norway, like that's the whole culture. If you match with a chick on Tinder in Norway, like both parties expect to fuck, and it's weird if you don't fuck. And so like everybody's just running around fucking everybody, and everybody's really beautiful, so it kind of also makes sense. And also the Viking fucking DNA is in us, and so we're kind of just keeping that going. But the issue that I'm seeing with that is when it comes to actual relationships, there is no intimacy, and the whole backbone of the relationship kind of crumbles after a couple of months. And now I'm kind of getting sidetracked here, but like and then kind of speaking into the spiritual aspects of it and what you're talking about. And I'm very new to this, and I'm kind of just exploring it, like not randomly having a bunch of sex at clubs, getting drunk. Like it doesn't resonate anymore. But what does feel more true and resonate is, I guess, conscious sex. But also, what are the benefits of it? Because there's obviously a lot you can learn from having sex with all kinds of people, but also your energies intertwine. And so if you're fucking on somebody that's really messed up, like you take on that energy. So that's like an obvious downside. But what are, like, I guess, practically grounding, what are the upsides? Like, what are the upsides? Because a lot of people do NoFap and practice NoFap and don't have sex at all. And there's a lot of benefits that come from that, internalizing that energy, not just wasting it. So if anybody has anything there, like, what is the benefit of sort of consciously running around fucking?
Let's ask, you know.
I mean, you have a lot of experience with this. It sounds like Oliver, so.
I mean, I think we need to kind of really pull back on our understanding of what it means to have sex, you know? Like, is sex just a one-time flash in the pan? Is it like, you know, I feel like we're all kind of understanding that the old ways that we used to do it, the old ways that we used to learn how to, you know, meet chicks is definitely outdated, you know? And we're trying to understand our sexuality. So how do you understand your sexuality? I mean, the best way of doing anything is by being in the act of doing it and learning in the process of it. So how do you do that? Well, you have to have sex, right? You have to have, you know, and you can actually also learn a lot from this NoFap thing. I did 2 years no ejaculation. I did almost a year of celibacy with.
That's insane.
And
really,
to be honest, I learned a lot, but I also didn't learn a lot. I went back, you know, the old ways, and I appreciated it that much more, you know. And that's a whole nother side topic, but kind of the depth of this is like, what do we want to get out of the sexual experience, right? And I think that's really what conscious sex is, you know, and going into it with a mutuality of like, hey, let's explore this intimacy and the depths of this potentiality of making love on the moon, you know, like, okay, like that sounds intriguing to me. But I'm also 40 years old now, you know. At 20, it was a little bit different, you know. So you have to go through the phases, you know, and you have to essentially come out the other end, and you still realize that there's a bunch of masks and it's somewhat the same thing to a certain degree, but this is the journey, you know. And we're all on this interesting journey. Sex is one of the most taboo things in the world, right? Sex, money, power, right? And they say, well, if you can somewhat get a grip on any of these things, you know, you've got some footing under your feet. So
that's interesting though, and this to me is like the first thing I've been like, okay, we can distinguish the sort of look at being a hoe from like a spectrum. So like fully 10 out of 10, you're a 10 out of 10 hoe, you're getting blackout drunk and you're just fucking everybody, and you're doing it from a place of escape. So that's like your escape, just fucking everybody. And then you're kind of moving up the spectrum, and what you're speaking into, I wouldn't personally consider a person a hoe if they're having sex with a lot of people, but they're doing it in such a conscious way where it's both parties are really looking to grow and learn and expand in their sexuality. that to me doesn't feel like a hoe, even if you're a woman or man.
And I will just bring it back to what I was talking about for a hot second, just to say that's what I was trying to get at is like, let's bring it back to the sacred sexuality, experience, right? Is the reality is like, we're moving away from unconscious sex into conscious sex. And that's of import. That's important to be able to like move away from that hoe phrase, right? So I appreciate, Thor, where you took it, and you as well, because that's where I was on my way.
I actually would say it's the other way around. We're moving away from conscious sex and way more into unconscious sex.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I can.
Are you, what are you saying?
We're moving away from conscious sex.
We are.
Yeah,
as humans.
As humans, correct.
Yeah.
Because just look at porn itself. Like 50 years ago or whatever, like that doesn't even exist, not even magazines. Now we have it all over the place.
Yeah.
We are programmed and conditioned in ways that's everything else but conscious. So as a humanity...
Okay, I have a point real
disagree.
quick. So when you're in your life and you're doing what you're doing, and then you get to that moment of some sort of awakening, of some sort of awareness of what you're doing, right? And usually it comes at an kind of an ugly juncture, right? Something happens, OD, whatever it is, you get somebody pregnant or whatever it is. And I hate to say it, but this is somewhat of the human program that occurs, that you have to get to some sort of bottom place to then start to look to other places for what is this really, right? And as in the sexual journey, we're all on the sexual journey. Everybody in here, I think we all like it. And
I'm a fan.
Life is just orgasmic. Everything is an orgasm.
right.
If you really look at it like
I think
that.
that's a high level of sexuality, is when you have that sort of relationship with life, and you look at, the sprouting of flower, and you're almost like turned on by it, But that wasn't.
What are you into, Oliver?
Jacking off in gardens.
Let me, Sophia,
Taking how to a new level.
I want to come back to this because you said like you disagree with me that we're moving more towards unconscious sex rather than conscious sex. If you look at the bigger picture of humanity, humans in general, right? Look at how much it has changed, how the sexual culture has changed over the last 50 years. And you said you disagree with me.
I do, because I think that we have been having sex that was mostly, I think, not enjoyable for women for a very long time. I think it was more like a man's thing. And yes, I agree with you. There's porn and there's all kinds of stuff that we're dealing with now that is unconscious. However, in the past, I feel that it was more, I don't feel that the women's pleasure was being valued or put as a priority. I feel like that is changing, and for that I'm very grateful. But if I speak to older people, it wasn't that way, and so I'm really grateful that there is change. And yes, I do agree that the porn industry is $1 billion trillion industry, and there is a lot of things that I would love to see change. But I do think that there is more consciousness, and I do feel that we are in a stage of evolution, in a stage of consciousness, and that we're figuring shit out right now. Like, it's a shit show, and we are exploring a lot of different things, and I think that it's messy and awkward and ugly sometimes, and it's also beautiful, and it's also important. So yeah, I think it's a stage.
A question on that, just because and I totally agree with you on those things, but in a stage of figuring shit out. But I kind of feel like we've always been in a stage of figuring shit out. Like, there's always been messy, crazy sex parties. Like, okay, go back to the hippies in the 60s, and they didn't even use condoms, like just raw dog randoms. And I don't think there was a big STD I don't know. But then you go back to okay, take it further back to the Renaissance. I think those guys like to fuck. And then you go further back, and and then it's like the Greek, the Greeks, and they had crazy orgies and sex parties. So it's I think, and then Kama Sutra, you go all the way back there. So I think just as a species, we've always been hypersexual. It's just what we do. When you look at monkeys, they're just constantly eating bananas and fucking each other. It's just that's their day. We went to that Vipassana in Nepal, which was crazy. birthplace of the Buddha. We went Dave, and that was just nuts. And we'd just be around these families of monkeys, like a huge family of monkeys and warring monkeys, and they'd just be fucking and eating. And you're there in a meditation retreat watching them, and you're like, that's exactly what I want to do. That's the shit I can't do is fucking eat, and this is all I do. And then maybe fight somebody, and you're like, maybe, and it's like you're thinking about. We've been in meditation retreats where we'd be like, we could take that guy, and you just sit in your head, right? So get out of my point. Back to my point, though.
Going to a meditation.
We'd be throwing shoes at each other, but no, it's just like maybe that's just how we are as humanity. Is we're hypersexual beings. It's in our DNA, and there's been pockets of humanity that are conscious always. There's been the yogis, there's been the Stoics, there's been all these people, and then there's been always trash of people that are just like heretics or crazy or just like this is just the human experience. So we've always been that way, and I think right now what I've seen in my circles is it's kind of trending to be conscious, and I like that because it's getting a little bit cooler to be present and loving and kind. And back in my unconscious drug-filled hoe days, and then my spiritual hoe days, because there was those times when I was a young Bali entrepreneur building this place, and it was like cool, there's a new hot yoga teacher coming every month, and it was fun to have these flings, but they were conscious, and I'm friends with like all of them still, and we support each other around the world. Like cool, that was a fun romance we had, and is way better than the drug filled hoe days. It's way better because we're still friends and we support each other and we're cool, and we're just like, it's actually really nourishing to have that experience where we had like a cool adventure, but it was fleeting. And where I was at in my consciousness in those times, that's what I wanted and needed. But I needed that to have those experiences for me to be like, oh, this is actually how you have like a deeper connection, but a fleeting quick one rather than these like drunken ones where you don't even remember the person's name after. And it was really depleting, like really didn't feel good. And that's where I had those kind of rock bottoms around it was, oh man, this didn't feel good. And it would cause chaos in my life, and it would cause a mess. And it's just like, it wasn't really that good. And so now I just know that's not what I want. So I think it's important to go through it though. I think everybody should be a hoe at some stage in their life. It's good for you to go there and then to get out of it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you, because I feel like you're saying that like it was an important part of your like development and stuff, and I can totally see that. But like, would you say that for a woman? Like if a woman was like having her sexual hoe phase and she's like hooking up with a new hot yoga teacher would you feel the same about that? Or would you be like, ooh, I don't want that?
There's definitely a double standard without a doubt. Guys don't want to be like, they don't want to know that she fucked a soccer team. Like that's what guys don't want to hear.
Right.
We don't want to hear that. But on the other end, guys get celebrated for like,
But why don't you want to hear that? Because,
this is what I wanted before. For sure. Before it would be like, oh man, that's not that, oh, she's a hoe. Like there's baggage there. There's bodies on her. Like that's a thing. That's what people feel that way, right?
Yeah.
Where I think now where I'm at now, I don't mind if a girl had her days, because then just like me, we'd be really good at sex. So it's like you're well practiced, It's just like
No, I agree.
I would mind, like, I don't really know, but there's a part of me that really values the sort of purity of a woman in more of the traditional sense. And something about her having fucked 100 people, it just doesn't, because even then I want to be able to I want a woman that's very playful and sort of innocent. Because I'm very expressive and outwardly, so I want to show her the world and like take her around and like really have a lot of her new experiences be with me. But if she's like kind of completely used up, maybe that's the wrong word.
And under the bus he goes.
Oh my gosh. It's such a double standard.
Because would you rather have...
Thank you for your honesty.
I'm triggered.
This innocent virgin woman who just cannot kiss, who cannot love, who doesn't know how to touch you, has no sense of, explorative sexuality? Or would you love this woman who's potentially been with a lot of partners and actually knows exactly how to tantalize you in all aspects, because deep down inside, I think it's the ego speaking, goes, oh, I want my girl to be so pure because I want to give her the experiences and I want to teach her. But that's the ego speaking. That's this false sense of self that wants to be the first and the best, and to be honest, you're not going to be, even if she tells you, there's going to be other lovers that hit that spot on her and that
tantalized her.
And that tantalized her.
Great word.
And honestly, at 40 now, I want that woman to have that experience and know how to navigate these realms consciously, linguistically, as well as sexually, you know? And maybe when I was 20, I was thinking, oh, no, I don't want her to be with somebody. But then majority of them don't know how to make love and don't know how to be intimate. I want to love her.
I'm going to speak into that since...
Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's a really good reflection, and I haven't looked at it that way. And so thank you for sharing that. And it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, definitely, like I see it now, definitely there's a big piece, there's an ego piece there, for sure. But I think that's also, the beautiful part of this journey. Like you kind of learn to outgrow that. But yeah.
The word virgin, just so you know, the word virgin used to actually mean a woman in her sovereign power. That's right. And it got turned around to mean chastity and purity when the wounded patriarchy took over and decided that they were in charge and to put women...
Guys.
Seriously, fuck those guys. But like, so that idea of like a woman being pure and chaste stems from like deep masculine wounding and actually a deep masculine desire to be more in tune with their feminine side. And men, y'all are so amazing. And I love men. Y'all are great. And you are not given permission on a global scale to access your feminine side. And that is like deeply problematic at like, there's so many.
That's
I'm
probably
like
been
super
my-
activated now. So like,
I really appreciate you giving that that definition, because I love that definition. And as a man, thank you, because we love women. I love women. Women, you guys are the greatest thing that God ever made. Like, I swear to God.
thank you.
But where is your definition being played out into reality? I want a virgin. I want a sovereign woman. I don't want a woman who doesn't have sex. I don't want that. But I want a sovereign woman. Where is the sovereign women?
So we have to do our work too, and we need to pull ourselves out of wounded patriarchal like ideas of what we are, to be a good girl, to be the people pleaser, to be like, oh yes, I'll bend over backwards to support you. I was married. I was in a relationship for 8 years, and I bent over backwards to make sure that man loved me. And it wasn't who I was. And all of a sudden I went through a Kundalini activation and awakening, and I started shifting, and I started telling him no to certain things, and I started doing whatever the fuck I wanted to do. And then he was like, when are you going to go back to the way you used to be? And I was like, this isn't working anymore. Thank you so much. And like, he's a good man and I love him like still, but he couldn't come along anymore because I kept stepping into my sovereignty, but I chose the hard fucking path. I have like crawled through the shards of glass to look at the shame, to look at the grief, to be able to step out of wounded maidenhood, which is what so much of like some of the bullshit that you're calling like ubud on with like the spiritual like ego, like that we're still in the deep wounded maiden, and women have to do our work. Like that's not okay, because I am not here to be in that space anymore. I'm here to step the fuck up, because if we step up, then you guys get an opportunity to step into your feminine side as well and access it. And you deserve that.
Yeah.
You 1,000% deserve it.
I love it. And I think what you said about the feminine spot, like that's probably been one of the biggest parts of my growth was meeting the feminine in me and actually being like, it's okay to take baths. It's okay to do all this shit.
Yes,
like on the 3D level. Like
Go to the spa, man.
because I never did that shit. I had to do it. I didn't take baths. Gangsters don't take baths.
Whatever. I bet that is not true, by the way. I feel like that life is like really about that.
There's a lot of bubble baths.
With popping bottles.
The gold. Yeah,
There's
you're right.
no way.
You're right.
But he was a feminine mystic.
Yeah.
He like was deeply in the feminine, like
Yeah.
as a poet.
Is a mystical name.
He is.
Yes.
He is.
Kelsey, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So obviously I know you grew up in a very, very different way. And
Yeah.
obviously like there's a lot of talk that has been happening here, which is quite, let's say, foreign in many ways, right? From the way how you grew up.
Oh, yeah.
At least.
Yeah.
So you want to share a little bit more about that? Like, because that's such a different way how you grew up than, I don't know, I did, for example. I guess all of us.
Yeah, well, for context, I was thinking about that after. I should have said this at the beginning, but I was raised Mormon, just the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, if you're not familiar. But yeah, and the beliefs around like sex are very different, very restrictive. You are taught to not have sex until you're married. And it's really interesting because there's like a lot of like workarounds that people do like in college.
Like what?
Well, let me tell you.
Tell me more.
I went to BYU, which is like
tricks,
the
What have you done?
Tricks, okay, but no, I went to BYU, and it's like it's a whole Mormon school, and like you have people like making out is like the first time I ever made out with someone, you like lay down with them, you're like, oh, I'm such a bad person. It's really interesting. It's totally different. And if you're like ever if you like touch anything at all, you're supposed to talk to your leaders about it.
What do you mean anything at all?
Like if you touch their body like at all,
Touch a dick. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah, like I mean, if
boring.
No, babe.
Bounce on the trampoline and you're bouncing. to each
that's
other.
the thing. I've never done that, but I've heard about it. Like yeah, if you touch any like parts of someone's body that you're not supposed to with clothes or not clothes, just talk about it. Anyways, but yeah, they do things like it's called like soaking, where you like basically have sex but you don't move, and then because there's no movement, it's not like actually sex. It's a thing. Or like there's like a lot of there's a lot of dry
PTS?
humping, so they'll just like
Like
you know.
like sort of push the two people together.
Somebody, there's another
No,
person
it's-
involved.
It's just
You
them.
Mormons are
It's
freaky.
just them, yeah. No, it's very different. But yeah, anyways, all that to say, like I was raised with very different beliefs around sex, and like only recently have I left the church. So only recently, like, did I decide like, oh, okay, like my beliefs around sex have changed. I no longer view it as something that I want to save till marriage. So like having sex is like relatively new in the last several years, you know. But it's been so anyways, it's interesting for me because I'm on a very different side of this, especially when you guys are talking about like, I don't really appreciate when women have had a lot of sex or whatever. And I'm over here being like, oh, that's interesting because I feel like I'm making up for lost time. Like,
Yeah, get it, girl.
It's new for me, you know? And like,
Get it.
but at the same time though, like I deal with a lot of the purity complex as well. Like I was taught my whole life that if I had sex before I got married, I was like dirty, I was used goods, which is why when you said used up, I was like, whoo, like I'm triggered because that was like, yeah, what I was taught, like literally from day one. And we were taught lessons about like, like you're like used goods at a store, or like you're dirty and like virtue is the most prized thing. I always wanted to be a virtuous woman. And if I ever messed up or like, you know, I felt so horrible about myself and I was so good. I never did anything. But if any was,
I just want to say you are virtuous.
Yeah.
thank you. But that's just to give you like context of where I'm coming from. That it's different for me because I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I would like to.
Can I see a personal question around that?
Yeah.
It's pretty, did you have sex in your Mormon days?
No, not till
So
after.
you were like, wow, okay, interesting.
I was like straight arrow as they come.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
There's something around that, like the taboo of it, like being so wrong. That's kind of hot. That I was like thinking around that, like these Mormons like soaking with each other, and it's like so. I was like, okay, like that's kind of
Yeah,
something
no,
about that
it's
spot.
yeah, I never did. I actually like when I was still Mormon, I was on the fringes, but I was dating a guy, and he actually was like really shaming me. He was like, "Man, like, are you still a virgin? You're so sexual. Like, it's kind of like intense." And I was like, that was a bad thing, you know?
It was a bad thing
And I
to be
was still a
sexual?
virgin at the time, yeah.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's a bad thing. You're shamed, like, to be a woman, to be sexual. It's bad.
That's like really, really normal. Like I didn't grow up Mormon. I grew up half Catholic, half Jewish, cashew, half C's.
Nice.
Technically Catholic. Not anymore though. Anyways.
That's great.
I'm a cashew also.
Anyways, I got that joke, babe. But that's like a really normal thing. Like there are only two archetypes for women to mostly play into. You're either virgin, chaste virgin, or whore. And there's only two roles to really play.
Yeah.
Whereas men, you actually are really fully allowed to be in your hoe phase. Yeah. Whereas women, if we're in our hoe phase, we become damaged goods, right? And it's a whole like, but then it's a double-edged sword because then we need to be like practiced. We have to know access to the tantric arts.
Totally.
We have to be perfect, and we have to like have our bodies like look perfect, and we have to be able. And it's just like it's so fucked up
It
to
is.
be
Yeah.
a woman sometimes.
Yeah.
Like truly so fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally,
you need to know what you're
totally.
doing and like be good at it. But if you like have done it too
You don't
much,
win.
then you're not wanted. It's
Yeah.
like very
Do
interesting.
you have the same expectation about men though in bed?
It is true.
Yeah. You want them to know what they're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Really good at it. We do not. We won't care.
Yeah.
But that's not what you guys have all said, though. Almost every single one of you have said the opposite. So that's what's, I don't know, that's what's interesting.
You guys have the idea of that, but I'm telling you, if you're really excellent at lovemaking,
Mm-hmm.
we are not going to question it. We're going to be like, so
Can I buy you things?
what do you need?
Do you want to go to the mall? I don't know.
I think one thing there though is after you were speaking and I shared what I shared, which I'm very glad I did because it's going to be fun for the podcast. But
It's good for your development, my friend.
yeah, and it really is. It really is.
First time in Ubud, first time in Bali.
It's been kind of like just marinating in my head. I'm like, I really feel like it feels true that as I continue to grow and continue to sort of figure myself out and connect more with God and really walk on this path, that I also will get to a point where I honestly wouldn't give a fuck if she's fucked a bunch of people. Because at the end of the day, it really feels like that's an ego thing.
Did you ever like hear about, in Islam where those guys like, go blow themselves up and they're like, you get 72 virgins in the afterlife? It's a whole thing, which is ridiculous. But you'd think after like 40, you'd just want a girl who's like a freak, It's like 72 virgins. You want somebody who's like spit in my mouth. Like, it's just not, no.
For sure.
I think it's a cultural difference, babe.
Nobody?
This isn't the kink episode, babe.
right.
Save that for next time.
To be honest, it's strange because he's actually telling a very honest truth, and we all are like, no, we don't want that, because sex is so taboo,
Yeah.
But then the beauty of it is that you go behind the door into the sheets, and then you explore these things, and that's why it's so good. But we can't talk about it. You can't even laugh at his joke. Nobody even in the audience laughed at his joke.
That was fucking hilarious.
It was
It
funny.
was funny.
Thank you for
I
laughing.
acknowledge that.
appreciate
I have
it.
to.
I laughed.
Spit
Thank
another guy's
you.
mouth. You should try it.
It's pretty interesting. It's an interesting experience.
Pretty good.
It's an interesting experience. We're trying.
So one thing I had this conversation with 3 girls yesterday. We were eating and they shared something and I was mind blown. And so I want to bring this because it kind of ties into the dynamic between masculine and feminine, the dynamic between men and women in relationships. And I think there's maybe because you guys are saying like, well, it isn't true that women and men can kind of act the same way in the sexual way. And I guess for most of society, people would say that isn't true. So that's why you also sort of hold that belief. Most people don't see it that way. I don't know if there is like, I guess, divine truth in that, if it's coming from that or if it's coming from man-made ego. But so that sort of context, what these women shared with me is we were talking about if a man and a woman cheats, like how would you react? And so what they said was they were explaining the difference when a woman cheats. It's like very emotional and it's like pre-planned, and she's been talking to this guy for like a month, 2 months, and she's like kind of like gearing up to do it. If a guy cheats, he's most likely just like blacked out at a bar or like drinking. Not most likely, but like that's sort of more of the case. And they were saying that if a man cheated and we had a really amazing relationship, they would, if he was open to like being honest about it and talking about it and like working through that, they would be okay with that and continue the relationship. And they asked me, would you be okay with if your woman cheated on you? And to me, it felt like an instant no. And so I just wanted to bring that. What's you guys' perspectives on that? Because I feel like that kind of ties into this whole dance between the masculine and feminine.
Yeah, it's a no for me.
A no for you in terms of you would not like.
No, yeah, trust is everything, and that's like a huge breach of trust. I don't think I could. And like maybe it's situation dependent. Like maybe I would feel differently if I was in that situation. But my initial reaction is no. Like we've already made this commitment to each other, and if you've broken my trust, I don't know how you could regain it.
Okay.
Now,
let me change it just a little bit.
Okay.
He's like 6'3".
Oh my gosh.
He's pretty
Already
jacked.
know.
Super hot.
He's got like $20 million.
Problematic.
He's not
Over 6 foot.
a lot of tattoos.
Just spit in your mouth.
I saw this interesting meme the other day. Sorry to cut you off. I apologize.
No, you go. I'll go next. Thank you. You're so respectful.
Yeah,
you don't
that was
let
nice.
anybody spit in your mouth, right? It's so respectful.
All right. It's the podcast
I saw
over.
this like weird meme. We live in a meme culture, and it was like from a movie or something like that. And it was this woman, and she was like, "Mom, how did you take him back?" It was Mom, like what did you do? And mom was like, yeah, I know he cheated on me, but he only cheated on me once, and I took him back because of all the good things he did to me, you know? So we tend to like focus on the negative.
I was waiting for a punchline there.
No, this is a lesson.
This is serious?
Listen.
Okay. All right, sorry.
We tend to like forget the good, you know? Like when you're in a relationship, you know, your guy might buy you things or take you out or, you know, pay your rent or whatever it is, or you might do this for him and, you know, make sweet love to him. But then the minute something bad happens, we hyper focus on the negative, you know? And we go, what? You cheated on me? And you're right, because it's all about the trust. But we're really living in an era where, you know, to relate can be a new construction. It doesn't have to be the old way, old Mormon way. It doesn't have to be the Christian way. It doesn't have to be the American way. It doesn't have to be the Canadian way. We, as conscious individuals, are now creating this thing. And do you have the audacity to create this thing the way that you want it and be able to say, hey, honey, you know, I really want to support you. I really want to love you. I really want to give you all this. But like, you know, once every 10 years, you know, I want to have an orgy. You know, like, can you say that? Do you have the guts to say that, you know? And I feel like we're moving into that era where now we can create what relating actually means to you. No longer hyper focus on this construct of some sort of, you know, okay, it's you and me forever, right? And when that occurs, if the trust is broken, I agree. There's some definite integrity that's jeopardized in that moment, but will you still remember all the good things that person did for you and all the help and all the growth and all the ascension that person provided for you to do? Or will you just be, just like Thor said, okay, he got drunk and he cheated on you? You know, because alcohol is a crazy thing, you know? And I'm not going to blame alcohol, but I'm saying that those things do happen. Is there an opportunity to forgive and to forget and to move on and to grow from it and to then become maybe more communicative, to be able to say, okay, you know?
This sounds nice. However, my question now to this is like, if your life partner cheats on you, how do you react?
Okay, but I'm...
No. I think like this is kind of...
say that I would react in a mindful manner. Again, it's a very tense situation, and it's hard to imagine being there. But I would say that I would have that conversation with my life partner prior to the possibility of that happening, so that if that happened, we have an understanding. Okay?
So basically you have a conversation with your partner. It's like, hey, look, how do we handle it if someone cheats on the other person?
Yeah, that's right. Because we actually are sick as fuck. And we cheat on each other all the time, and we pretend we don't cheat on each other. So what's better, to lie about the lie or to actually have some truth about the lie? Okay? Because when you have some truth on the lie and you actually shed some light on the topic of the conversation, which is super uncomfortable, okay? But look, we're hypersexual beings and we're living in an era where we have infinite connectivity. You know? So, go ahead.
I really appreciate everything that you said, because it's moving the conversation away from like, it's just sex to like, you're talking about intimacy and you're talking about relating. You're talking about something that's like a lot deeper. You're actually realizing that sexuality is a connection with another person to access God, right? And so when it comes to like relationships and somebody cheating, first of all, you need to talk about boundaries. You need to talk about desires. You need to like literally co-create a new paradigm of relationship with another being. And it's going to be different with every being that you're with, because that person needs something else, and your energy with that person is going to be different. Like my relationship with you is going to be different than anybody in the audience, because energy is different. It just mixes differently, right? But we can only know what we want by experiencing what we don't want and what we allow ourselves to desire and to speak to and to be really vulnerable. And in order to do that, we have to be really vulnerable with ourselves. So it takes tremendous amounts of inner work to be able to recognize, who the fuck am I? What do I want? And am I brave enough to say, I want someone to spit in my mouth or do whatever the fuck it is, right? You have to be able to like say it and be like, this person might totally reject me and might totally like deny me anything that I want. And then you have to be like, that's not my person. And I love you, and you're totally worthy of whatever it is you desire. Look, dude, if you want a chaste woman and that's what you want, do it. That's amazing. That's not for me. We would not be able to be good partners in that, right? But you allow yourself, like that's the whole idea of like existential kink. What are you getting off on?
It's a dope book.
What are you getting off on that like is shadowy and you don't want people to see, right? There's so much emphasis in general in this spiritual world, like about love and light and ascension, but go into the depths and like the dark, the cave, the hara, the womb, go into the underworld, into the other world and realize what the fuck do you want? And like, look at your shit. And then you find somebody else who's been through their shit and you go, here's my shit, here's your shit, here's my red flags, here are your red flags. And then you go, do I approve of your red flags? Yes, your red flags are okay. Are you okay with my red flags? Awesome, we're gonna work on it. Cool. And then you're a human being. Then you learn how to forgive. Yes. You have to learn to forgive. It's one of the greatest lessons I've learned in the past 7 years. And the only person that you really truly have to forgive is yourself. Because ultimately, if you're not forgiving of yourself for everything you have ever denied yourself, truly denied yourself, pleasure. We are all worthy of pleasure. Every single being on this planet, let's be joyful. Let's stop calling it spiritual work. Let's just be spiritually playful now. Like, that's what I want, right? That like, let's move away from the fucking work, right? Like, let's find new language for it.
I wish that was possible, that it wouldn't be work, but like there's so much fucking hard work in spiritual evolution. It's just like it's not easy.
Trust me,
but it can.
You can find the silver lining. I was literally in the deepest despair of my life like 6 weeks ago, and I was like, it's not going to be forever. It's going to be fine. I'm turning into the motherfucking dragon right now. Here we are. So you can find it, but you do have to put in the elbow grease to get there. Exactly. Nothing that's worthwhile is going to be easy, but it doesn't mean you can't be joyful in all your bullshit.
Can I ask you ladies a question? What's that? I wanted to ask, okay, would you prefer a guy who's a recovering hoe, like used to be a hoe and then went conscious, or a guy who's like straight edge the whole time? Like, what in your essence of this, what would be your ideal partner?
You're asking personal questions?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to go first because I just talked a lot.
Specific. I want to hear from you first and then go down the line.
Okay.
Because she was a little quiet for a little while. So.
Yeah. No, it's fine.
I personally prefer someone who is a little bit on the conservative side. Personally, I'm conservative sexually, and I'm more attracted to people who are also sexually conservative. And I also don't have, I wouldn't say I don't have any judgment, but I don't have much judgment around people exploring their sexuality and behaving the way they like.
What's the interesting part of a conservative? Why do you feel you're conservative, and why are you interested in conservative men? Like, because that's, I guess, a kind of a kink in a weird way.
I'm so horny for conservative people. Yeah, baby, be conservative.
Wear that tie harder.
Lights off.
There's something to be said about something. Well, for me, like sexuality is precious and sacred, and I want to share myself with someone who also feels that way. And I also think that it's wonderful that everyone else does whatever the fuck they want. And I think that we're all in different stages, and that's great. Find someone who is similar to what it is that you are looking for. And I also don't feel that it's realistic to think that if you're with someone for a long enough time that that cheating will not happen. I do feel that, like in my relationships, I always put like a get out of jail free card for that.
No, but
Sophia, it's not a normal. It's
okay. Look, first of all,
more of a
Sophia,
rare
you're
thing.
funny because you really just put on this whole front like you're very conservative. I know you as a person.
You're a great friend of mine, and you have been more risque in your sexual intimacy with partners than majority of people that I know. And I'm not talking about being with a bunch of people, but you've had boyfriend and girlfriend living under the same roof together for multiple years.
Sophia got called the fuck out.
This is conservative. That's why I really love you and I love your mind, because you have a wide open mind and you have flexibility, and that's why I think that you're very advantageous on the feminine aspect on this topic.
Love this.
But you did pretend like you're very conservative and you're not.
Oh my god! Shots fired.
Now in here. Oh my god.
Yikes!
And I'm not trying to call you out. These are rap artists. This is an actor. Okay? I'm just actually trying to get to the bottom of this, because everybody was watching. It was like, wow, okay, finally a conservative girl. We can relax.
She even said it with conservative posture.
You're very cutting edge. You're very cutting edge in your the way
Just
you
got
write.
really interesting. Woof.
Sexually, yes, but
Did I say I'm sexually conservative?
Yes,
That's what I said,
but-
which is true.
But relationally,
Not.
very explorative.
I am. I'm very open. I like to explore, and those are with people who, it feels contained. It's not like random. Like I had one partner, for example, for 4.5 years, and I said at some point I would like to open the relationship. I was interested in exploring with women, particularly, and I told him that I would like to explore this together. And so next thing I know, he was chasing every beautiful woman in town and trying to have sex with literally everyone. If you were beautiful and would have sex with him, he would have sex with you. And I'm like, okay, that's not at all what I meant. Like, I prefer my partner to have a deep, loving, caring relationship with someone that there's growth happening and there's beauty being shared. That's what I'm interested in. So I'm not interested in a partner who just wants to fuck everyone, or so I'm pretty clear on that. And so in that way, conservative, but yes, open.
Actually, also not really quite conservative. If you're considering dating other women, right? Would you consider that conservative?
In 2023.
Or selective, maybe.
Fair enough, yeah.
Selective.
That I actually never had sex with a woman. So even though I explored, I didn't. So in the end, yes.
I want to throw in another question to the group.
But I want to hear her response.
Okay, go on.
Same question. No,
The same question?
Okay,
Let's know
yeah.
what our personal preferences are. Fine.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am more selective in my sexual choices. And so I prefer a partner that is also selective. Like, I don't just sleep around, It's, don't have a lot of judgment towards people who do. I know I have many friends who do that. I live in LA. Like, that's very much a culture. But personally, I'm very selective with who I sleep with. Maybe because of my upbringing, but so I prefer to have partners that are also selective. And I think the reasoning behind it is because, sex is still a big deal for me. Like, it's still important. It's still a very special shared moment with somebody. And I don't really want to do that with everybody. And I also don't want to be with someone who just does that with everybody. Cause then I feel less important. And there was somebody who, recently had the option to have sex with somebody. And because of how casual he is about sex, I was like, I don't really want that, to be honest. Like, I didn't want it, I don't feel special. I don't feel like you value this with me. Like, I don't feel like
ego as well.
I don't know. That's a valid question. I don't know if it's that or if it's more of the weight that I place on sex, because we don't share that. I'm not as interested in sharing that with you. This is not as important to you as it is important to me. So I'm not interested in having that with you.
I second that.
Yeah. Thanks.
You've never been in a relationship, bro.
You're gonna drop that.
Wait, guys, wait a second. Hold on.
The couple that I was exploring with, thank you for sharing that with the world.
That was not a stupid question. That was the most important and entertaining part of the whole podcast.
I'm sorry.
The question was
Couple has been married for 15 years, and we're in a deeply devoted, loving container, and I was the only person that they opened their container with. So it's a little bit different.
I wasn't even talking about.
Thanks for exposing that.
Has thickened.
I fucking love that.
But I just want to tap into something really quickly before we move on, because we've
Wait, but
traversed
we gotta
a lot of
hear-
territory.
It's okay,
One
we'll bypass
is cheating, right? Sorry to go back to this topic. I kind of look at a relationship, and maybe this is a very masculine way of looking at it, and maybe you can kind of agree as an entrepreneur. I look at relating as we're kind of in a little bit of a business together, you know, like we're in the business of making each other happy and making the house beautiful and making the garden beautiful and maybe kids beautiful and upbringing, right? So like how I see it is when I'm in a relationship, I want to bring a tremendous amount of value, right? And I want my partner to bring a tremendous amount of value. When I'm in a relationship and the value isn't being reciprocated one way or another is when we start to think, oh, wow, look at her. Oh, wow, okay. Well, actually, I'm going to go to the bar tonight with my friends, you know, who are single, you know, and she's like, whoa, wait, what? But it's like, and she can read that she's actually not putting in the same amount of counter partnership in this relationship. And subconsciously, she's reading that and she's going, oh, he's going to cheat on me, you know? And so I look at it, and again, maybe this is a bad way of looking at it, but it's kind of a business, you know?
Right,
Relating is really, we both have to uphold some sort of quality value in this context that is nourishing, feeding, and growing this business, which is our relationship.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to use the business terminology because it sounds very
It's a good
masculine,
one, though.
But the same way, like I've been with a few women who bring a tremendous amount of value, and I never wanted to go anywhere else, you know? And I like to think when I'm in a relationship, I'm going to bring a tremendous amount of value to the point where she's not going to want to go anywhere.
What were your KPIs? Your key performance indicators. What were they?
Your projection forecasts, all kinds of things. Yeah.
On a conscious level, you can discuss those things on what need to be handled around the homestead to create
What were yours?
I still don't know that acronym. I'm not really.
Key performance indicators. What was she doing to perform in the business?
Key performance indicators is that honestly the most valuable thing I've recognized in a relationship is that my partner supports me to the utmost.
Dope.
And a lot of the time, and so that's the
Key performance indicator.
KPI. And so I want to be supported as a man, you know, and I want a woman, and I want to treat her like my queen, and I want to do everything I could possibly do to nourish her in every point of the day, you know. But most of the time I tend to fall into these relationships, which I just recently realized, like, you know, my love languages of being in acts of service. I'm a big act of service person, and I need a woman who has that same love language as her number one, because that's for me the support that I need so that I can provide for her on a physical level, a spiritual level, a mental level, and a sexual level, you know? Yeah. And when I don't get that is when I go, oh.
Sasha.
Hey, Sasha.
I feel you on that.
So anyways, the point I'm making on that is that you're not going to get cheated on if you're really providing the utmost in the partnership, you know?
Generally,
yeah. And your business partner isn't going to be like, hey, bro, I want to quit this partnership because you're not providing, you're not performing.
You're not performing.
And so we need to perform for each other. A relationship is not a get into it and get comfortable.
Yeah.
You know, we tend to get into those things, and all of a sudden, you know, you slack, you lack, you don't care, you're just watching TV, and that's just pathetic. I had my last girlfriend, she's like, let's watch Netflix and chill, and I'm like, dude, I am not watching Netflix with you. Like, I'm not gonna slip into that reality, you know, like, let's talk, let's be present with each other, let's massage, let's do whatever it takes to like cultivate this thing, because we tend to just get too complacent, and then all of a sudden it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, and you're bored as F with this person. You know?
I see the same correlation when you get a job and like you go to the interview and you're like, look at me. And it's just like the first couple dates and you're trying to sell yourself. And then in the honeymoon stage, you're like hitting the KPIs, you're like performing. And then you get complacent, lazy. The common, you know, after the honeymoon stage, you got to spice it up. So I see that in the job thing too. Cause I was like, that's why I'm an entrepreneur. I'm unemployable. I'm the worst employee. I'm going to be like fucking around. I'm going to take 2-hour lunch breaks. Like I need to be doing my own thing because I don't want to work for other people, but I don't know where that was coming from. So
Well, I don't personally resonate with the business analogy, but if that works for you, that's amazing. But what I did take away from that is that you know, it takes effort to be in a relationship, right? But again, like it's interesting because the topic is about being a hoe, and we're actually talking about intimacy and relationships, right? And so that's what's so fascinating to me about it, is because ultimately it comes back to, you can be a hoe as much as you want. And at the end of the day, every single being on this planet desires to be loved.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
desires to be loved for who they are, and to be chosen, and to be seen for how like tender and like innocent that they are, right? Like we want to be seen in our vulnerability. I literally I treat my relationships the way I treat like when I go to therapy and I go see my therapist, and I'm like, here is everything that is going on with me, and it's insane, and you just need to know what's happening so that you know what you're getting into.
How do men respond to that?
I haven't been with anybody really for a while. It's going well.
And also,
like the business where she says,
I say the things I'm not supposed to say
I love it.
pretty regularly.
I love you already for that. And look what a hoe does. The gardening tool, it tenderizes the ground. It does make, you got to cultivate your garden.
I have a follow-up question on this one.
Okay.
Would you like to know all of the things about your man that you're going to be together with?
Yes,
Because like you throwing all your garbage at him is one thing, but like
it's who says that it's garbage?
Ooh.
Why are you?
it's all of us.
I don't have garbage. I just have some. I have my baggage,
Okay,
but I use
baggage,
language.
garbage,
Yeah.
yeah,
I do think.
great.
Look, I think that language matters.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like, it does matter. I mean, when I say that I throw everything out there, obviously I'm being a little facetious and being a little like playful in that. I'm like, here's where I'm at. This is what I expect. Here's who I am, right? And there's gonna be stuff that I really haven't wanted to see that still exists, and he's gonna find it. He's gonna go, babe, we're gonna talk about it, right? Or whatever. Is it gonna be messy? It doesn't matter. I want it to be messy because it's just real. So I want to know what someone's bullshit is. I want to know like what their red flags are. And there might be limits. Like the last man that I was involved with, I had some boundaries over things that he was sharing with me. And I was like, I can hear it, but I can hear it kind of at this level. And like, this is where I'm at. And he honored that. And when he started to break that, that's when I was like, thank you so much. Goodbye. Like now you've broken like the boundaries and like the trust is gone. Right. And there were more things with that too. But the reality is like, it doesn't matter to get to whose question? Oh, it's your question, right? About like the personal, like, what is it that you want to know? Like he's been with a lot of guys, been with a lot of people or not, right?
Would you accept a recovering hoe? Would you want to know about his hoe-ness? Would you prefer a recovering hoe or a like?
I don't.
A hoe.
I actually,
Yeah, what's the
it
question?
actually, like, I don't. It doesn't. It doesn't matter. Like, I've been with like men who've been like polyamorous before. I've been with people who've been like they've only been with like a couple women. Like I've been with like a range. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as they are choosing me. I don't care what their background is. It's like the Backstreet Boys song. I don't care who you. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because at the
Who's the better lover?
Yeah, so exactly what I was gonna say. Who fucked better? Yeah.
What do you mean?
Who was a better lover? Who
Are you
was
talking
better?
about the Backstreet Boys still? Oh, sorry.
Second question: who would you fuck out of the Backstreet Boys? First question.
I always had a crush on Kevin Richardson. He was always my favorite.
I was more of a Nick
Anyways.
guy, but I get it.
Fair.
I can see you being in a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, I've
Would you
had
like to know everything?
No. Who's the better lover? First of all, the one who had hella.
it's actually a complicated answer because at the end of the day, you're talking for me. When I'm experiencing the most pleasure, it's also related to intimacy. So it doesn't matter. Like I like had amazing sex with a man who hadn't necessarily been with tons of women, and he wasn't the polyamorous dude, right? And the polyamorous dude was like fucking awesome in bed, and also he could only go so far in intimacy, right? So I that's really a challenging question to answer, right? And I'm at a different point in my life as it's happening as well. So I can't really answer that question for you. And also to answer your question, Sasha, like, do I want to know? Yeah, I want to know because I want the deepest level of intimacy that I can possibly go. Like that's part of my journey. I'm like, I want to explore the depths. I want to be known at the deepest capacity and I want to know someone so deeply, but that's my personal preference. That's not for everyone.
Girl, I wanna know.
RH.
know.
He's an RH.
What's an RH?
Recovering hoe.
Oh, thank you so much,
pay
madam.
We talked a little bit about the demonizing women for living a very, let's say, free lifestyle sexually, and how men are being celebrated pretty much in society. What's the potential shift? Does it mean like we need to celebrate women to do that? Or is there a change of behavior that needs to happen on the masculine side?
I think it's happening. I think that women stepping out and being like the conscious slut or like their courses and programs. Like it's a thing in the spiritual community. That's like they're owning their sexuality more. And I've seen, these are literally my friends having like conscious slut. That's like some program my friend has. You know, it's a thing that it's coming out, right? It really is. You've seen this. Like there's like more programs and coaching things that are about owning your slut or, you know, anti-slut shaming. I think it's cool. Like I think it's like, okay, like I think that's cool to own that word and take it back and be okay with your sexuality and be unapologetic about it. I'm like, power to that. That's great. It makes me feel better about being a hoe and you know, back in the day. So I'm like, that's cool. I think that's like an okay thing.
I think it depends on intention.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if I'm all for women sleeping with whoever they want to, expressing their sexuality and exploring their sexuality however they want to, but as a woman, like in my own idea of like what it really means to choose to sleep around, like why are you doing it? Right? If you're doing it because you're like, I want to and I feel amazing and I've got these boundaries and containers and that feels fucking awesome, do it. But if you're like, I want to be loved and I'm trying to fill this hole in my heart and I don't really know what it's about, then shut it down and tell everyone no and go celibate.
Yeah,
like till you figure it out. Like ultimately, like, so in terms of like celebrating women, we want to celebrate women in their sexuality, yes, but it's always about intention. Always about intention.
So if a man has an intention to like, hey, I want to sleep around and I have these beautiful containers with all these women in a more conscious way, then it's perfectly fine to.
Why? Well, why not? That doesn't necessarily mean I personally will sleep with them, but yeah, do it. Like it doesn't matter. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's sexual. There's a type of sex for everyone. Like you can find someone. It's possible. Yeah.
So the sample size here, these 3 women, none of you, from what I understand, would actually prefer such a man.
No.
Okay.
Do your thing,
So you
but
know,
not for me.
Yeah.
No, wait.
Okay, this is really actually important. So, what type of man do you want? And what do you want your man to provide for you? For all the listeners and for us, because I want to know also, you know, because I'm really shooting in the dark. Like I'm trying to figure it out.
Literally shooting in the dark? Lights on or off, babe?
Windows closed, missionary, no music, you know.
Sorry, it was just getting really serious. I just needed to muck it up for a second.
I want to know, and this is the question of the aeon is, what do women want? Do you know?
Why is everyone looking at me? Somebody else should answer. I mean, I
so
can, but I've been
vocal.
talking a lot. Somebody else.
You say something.
You answer for the whole.
I mean, I'll talk too, but I feel like,
but like-
I'll go after you.
You go down.
You want my list?
Yeah, give us your list. Give us your list.
What's the? Let's go in order. Yeah. And how many is there? And do you have a pen?
Do we have enough time?
Take notes.
You pass?
Okay, we're here.
Isn't it? Is, but maybe you're
Top 3.
the
Just
the
man
top
of your
3,
yeah, the top
exactly.
3. Just a few.
I like someone who is refined.
What is so? I'm amazing at English.
His name's
I'm
Thor.
learning words. What does that explain? Refined, or use a couple of other words?
Like sophisticated, refined, cultured, cultivated.
Experienced.
Experience, yeah.
Hoes cultivate ground. That's what they do. Hoes.
Thank you for constantly bringing it back to that metaphor.
Okay, we have refined.
Fine.
Intelligent.
Intelligence.
I'm not sapiosexual. I need to be turned on here. And I love consistency. I love when a man is consistent.
Okay.
So what if
Good
a
one.
man is refined, he's intelligent, he's consistent, but he's lousy in bed? Is it
No, obviously.
It's okay.
One must be a good lover.
okay?
One
Is that
One must be.
does that go up on the charts?
Yes.
Okay.
Not in the top 3 though.
1.5.
Top 5.
Okay. Okay.
I'm curious on the intelligence thing, like super good at math.
I suck at math.
Thor happens to be really good at that.
This just turned into a dating show. I was really curious.
I know, it's like we're speed dating now.
Math is not high up on the
I'm good at puzzles.
Good. I'm really bad at math.
But like how does he express?
You have the worst attention span ever. You would never finish a puzzle.
I haven't finished puzzles.
It was a naked woman.
I know where to put the pieces, my friend.
This is the
You good?
Like, how does he express the intelligence, and what aspect of his expression of the intelligence turns you on?
Well, I've dated people with different types of intelligence. I feel like there's many different types, and I need to be intellectually stimulated. So that comes in many forms.
Puzzles.
Definitely not
Like deep
puzzles.
conversations about the world and life and the way you view things. And yeah.
How about you, Kesley?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely relate to that. I don't think anybody wants like to date like a wall, you know? Like I would like to have deep conversations with my partner about like the way that I view the world. And that's, definitely top of the list is
What if he views the world differently?
that's okay. Like, you know, on some things, I think it's important. Like some values need to be like very aligned, but like, I think if we have some viewpoints that are different about various things, it's okay. Like it's also, you can learn from your partner and they might do things differently than you do. And that's all, really valuable. So, that is also one of my top ones. But we were talking earlier about like, it's important to me to feel like secure and to feel like safe. And, I want to be with someone that's like driven and motivated and cares about something. Like I'm a very driven, motivated person. And so if that like drive is not matched, I probably wouldn't really be excited about the relationship, at all. Cause I would not, it's not something you can talk about with that person, and then kind of similar to what you said, like I want to be able to feel vulnerable and be able to be seen and be loved for every part of me, like all of my strengths, but also my weaknesses, and like know that I'm safe to share and express and be myself fully with that person. That would be like the top. Obviously, yes, being good in bed is great and very important because sex is a really important part of a relationship. If there's no physical chemistry and that is not a fulfilling part of the relationship, it's not gonna last. So in more ways than one, but yeah.
Which could be discussed actually.
What do you mean?
Well, because if you look at your parents, for example, or like, older generations, they don't really care so much about that type of intimacy. It has evolved to something totally different. So in younger years, when we're like sexually very active, like that's super important. But later on in life, at least from the older people that I have talked to, that's not really an important thing anymore.
True.
Right?
Yeah, I could see that. But you could make the argument that there was a foundation of that for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So it's okay if that fizzles out maybe later on. Yeah. But I think if it's not there at all, ever.
Oh, I'm totally with you.
I know, but you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's, based on like what you say, you talk about this stuff a lot, like about the importance of chemistry and stuff like that. That's, so I feel like, if it's there, maybe if it fizzles out later, but it needs to be there at some point, especially at the beginning.
I don't know about all y'all, but I plan on having sex for my entire life. So heads up, that's like an important thing. So it better not be fizzling or else I am leaving. Yeah. So the reality is it's like, I want a man who is in integrity. I want a man whose words and actions align. I want a man who is playful, like very playful, like is able to make me laugh. If we're not laughing all the time, like it's like not a thing, right? I want a man who's like smart. I'm also like I'm very sapiosexual. A man with like a big brain. I'm like, yes, thank you so much. Thank you, daddy. So like there's that, right? And then like the sex has to be like amazing. The intimacy has to be amazing. It's super important. I'm a really sexual person. Like I live life as a walking orgasm. I'm like, oh my God, here's what's happening, right? And I make all kinds of sounds. I'm like over the top and dramatic. And he has to be able to hold my fire. I'm a walking fire creature. Like I know this about myself. Like I am dramatic as fuck. Be okay with that. And if you're not, then okay. So like, but in integrity, so important. I know I know a lot of beings, but especially men who say one thing and do another, and I'm not into that. I'm not into that anymore at all. It's a straight up hard pass. Straight up hard pass.
The hold the fire thing stuck out for me because that was something that I really had to grow into. Was my old pattern, quite avoidant after, with like a little bit of drama, but I'm too fucking busy for this. I got too much to do. Like I can't. And then as I've grown, it's like, okay, actually like a strong man needs to be able to hold that Like that's like your ability to hold that is how your depth of actually being a man. And I was like, oh, okay. So I couldn't just be like, not my problem, I'm too busy. I have to actually be able to, doesn't have to fix it, but just, and that was the other thing.
That's the other, I was going to say, well, that's a different.
Fixing was the thing. I'd be like, well, how do I fix this? But now I'd just be like, it's okay, babe.
Well, there's a lot of different. There's a lot of different types of fire. There's the glowing embers, and then there's the roaring hearth fire, and then there's the wildfire, and then there's the dragon fire. Yeah, there's like literally so well. And being in the feminine is truly about being in being able to shapeshift and take on all these different archetypes and different beings. And like men have this too. Like, but the reality is like a woman who's like in her deep Shakti energy, she is shapeshifty as fuck. Yeah. Right. And a man is able to like say, that is okay.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not okay right now. Maybe not right now, right? There's the container for it. There's the space, time and space, right? But like, it's okay. And I see you and your anger is valid, right? Especially women we're not allowed to hold anger. Men are allowed to be lusty and they're allowed to be angry. Women are allowed to not be those things. We're allowed to cry. And that's about it. And be pure. Right? We can be happy and pure and not lusty and definitely not angry. And like, it's really fascinating because that's the medicine. Women, we need to get more angry. We need to be able to release that fire and let it go. Men, you all need to learn how to cry. That's another requirement. If he hasn't cried recently, is a no. Oliver, it's not a dating show.
You got a shot.
It's really fun, by the way, also.
I'm hilarious.
So I want to ask one more question for the females, and maybe the males as well. But so, what is the point of non-procreative sex?
For fun. For funsies. Because... Well, I think it depends on the person. It's connection. It's fun.
Yeah.
Okay, give me the synopsis. You know, like
what do you
fun,
mean?
Fun and connective. That's it. Like, give me the whole spiel. I want to know what
is the spiel?
I think experience life to the fullest, like to really experience it. I think it's important to have some of those really beautiful experiences, not just like crazy, wild, nasty ones, which I think it's important to have. But that's life, to really live it to the fullest. So I feel like if it's too conformed and there's too many like it's taboo, I think then dysfunction comes out as well. So
but do you have to sleep with a lot of people to get that, right?
No, I'm just saying beautiful experiences. I'm not saying raw dog randoms. I'm saying to actually have like those experiences, you know?
Raw dog, yeah. What was the question? I'm sorry, I'm only thinking about raw dog randoms now.
Non-procreative sex. And you said it's fun and connection, and I agree with that. But I'd like to go deeper. Like, why do we have sex? Why do you want sex? Why do you feel the urge to, why are you activated? Why are you horny? Like, what is that thing besides procreation? Because this is a deep primal, code that we have to, try to either fulfill or not fulfill. However.
Well, human beings we're coded for pleasure. We're hedonists. We don't allow it.
Pleasure monkeys.
Yeah, it's okay to do that, but ultimately it does it's for fun. When we need to allow ourselves to have fun and put that higher on the list of things. I want to have fun in life. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to feel joyful, and I deserve that, right? And then connection, truly, to get to the depths. I mean, but it depends on people, because some people, they don't want that. They want the superficial thing. Mm-hmm. They just want to have. But I would argue though that people don't know what they want and are basically basing their lives on preconceived notions of what it means to be successful, preconceived notions of what it means to have fun and feel fulfilled. If I sleep with a lot of people, I will be fulfilled in life. And it's actually, do you know what you want? Have you asked yourself that question? Where are you making the assumptions that this is what I want? You have to start questioning everything. Question absolutely everything. And then you have to say, is that for me? And the only way you can determine if that is for you is if you figure out who the fuck you are and you go into the other world, into the Hara, into the womb, into the cave, right? We used to have initiations. You're a Viking. I have that in my blood too on my mama's side. The reality is there were all kinds of initiations, right? Thank you. I said I was dramatic, okay? It's on brand.
It's on brand.
Do that. And the way I like to sort of look at life and just becoming more of yourself is you have this pool of water inside of you, and you got all these rivers running into that pool, and every single or a lot of these rivers are blocked, and the way So it's basically like a river is a way that you express yourself. And for you to become your fullest version of yourself and fill up this ocean is you gotta unclog these rivers and let that water flow. And so basically do that thing. And for me, that's this is a way of me expressing myself. So like my confidence is growing and I feel full, I feel alive, and also jumping on the trampoline and doing backflips and that type of stuff. And sex, to answer your question, is also one of those things. And especially as a man, like you feel accomplished, you feel complete, like I fucking did it, yes. And it gives you confidence. It gives you like a level of depth in your life. And I think, yeah, you become depressed because you only watch Netflix and then you only fuck. So you got to have all of them, the full spectrum. But sex is one of those. And yeah, that's why we fuck.
You said something that's so important, and it's related to what you said, Oliver, and it's people want to feel alive. And when people have orgasms, they think that's sometimes that's the only way people can access feeling alive is through that. But when you realize that sex is only one, physical orgasm is only one iota of like happiness and how to access the orgasmic truth that you are made of the same energy that makes the butterfly flap its wings, and you're made of the same energy that makes like us make machines, and you're made of the same energy that is like the sun is shining. And when you realize that everything is an orgasm, and then you will put less emphasis on having to have sex with a lot of people, and you'll want to connect with someone very deeply, so you realize that like this is the most intense fucking sex ever, and I'm fucking into it, and it doesn't matter whatever the kink is, it doesn't matter, there's forgiveness, it's just being human, it's being alive. People want to feel alive and they're dead. And this comes back to what you said, Sasha, earlier about like everyone's diving into porn and numbing and everything. It's people want to feel alive and they just don't even know how to begin to feel alive.
Yeah. We don't get taught that in school enough.
No, don't get started on education, but yeah.
I don't know what school you went to.
What school did you go to?
From California.
Yeah. And?
From San Francisco.
I think you brought up a good question. It's like, what is it that women actually want, right? And all of you three have answered it. I think it's super fair the other way around. Like,
Thank you, Sasha.
what do you desire
Well,
as a
I think
man
I
in
said
your
it.
partner?
I want support.
Just
What
one
does
thing
that,
on
but what
the
does
list?
that mean?
I mean, here we have
what
like
does
a
support
long,
look like?
you know,
Support means that
we
you
take a-
value my life and the way that I'm living it, and you support that in whatever circumstances that may be, whether it be my career or my passion. And, you know, a lot of women, I'm not saying all women, but they, you know, as a man, we're really trying to provide. We're really trying to make the bacon. You know, we're as cliche.
What if she's vegan?
She could have vegan bacon?
Make the kale.
But the point is that we're trying to do our best to keep the roof over the head. We're trying to keep the lights on. We're trying to provide for our children in whatever shape, way, and form that might be. Yeah? And what I want is I still need an outlet. I still need to be with my friends. I still need to go and do something on the weekends where I can feel alive. Yeah, beyond the relationship. So I want my woman to be like, honey, yes,
Go.
do that. You need that? Good, because whatever is good for you is really going to trickle down into me. It's going to trickle down into our child, into our son, or to whatever our circumstance may be. And that's my number one thing is support. And that could also come, hey, honey, I need to make love, or honey, I don't need to make love today. You know, there's aspects of support that's in that. I've been in relationships where, you know, the woman wants something and they demand it at that crucial point, and I'm like, I can't give this to you now in terms of lovemaking, in terms of intimacy, you know? And I don't feel that support, and then my little being's like, get out of this thing, you know? Mm-hmm. So I need support, you know? And I feel like a lot of men don't get the support from the feminine. Mm-hmm. And we try our best to support you. We do. I believe that men really try their best to support you. They might not be in aligned with their words. They might say something else and do something else. And I'm not saying that's a good quality, but that might stem from the feeling of not being supported, you know? What you're looking for is you want to be able to access your emotional availability and be seen for that too. And that, because you're asking for emotional support. So the feminine, that's where we have to do our work and be like, it's okay for men to be vulnerable. Totally. It's important. I love the archaic archetype of the king and the queen, right? Mm-hmm. And the queen, the king is the ruler of the kingdom, right? Okay, and maybe that's patriarchal. That sounds patriarchal. But hold on, let me finish. Is deep down inside, the queen rules because the queen is telling us what to do. She's the one that's getting the download. She's in tune with her emotions and her intuition, and she's saying, "Hey, honey, you need to do this." And then I'm saying, "Okay, let me do this." So it's like kind of like I'm the puppet master, and the woman is really the leader, and she's really the one that's in charge, and she's giving me the depth that I cannot excavate as a man. And I hate to say that because that sounds almost unevolved, but deep down inside, we need the woman. We need the woman to help us. Help me. That's what I really want.
Yeah.
In my to answer your question, I want help. Okay. I'm gonna do it, but I want help.
One thing before you share. Yeah, go for it.
But isn't this what's been going on for thousands of years? Men have been doing the thing and women are supporting.
But I think that's
Sounds like what
To a
has
certain
been
degree,
happening.
yes, but to a very deep integrity, I don't know. I think on the surface layer, maybe, and we can juxtapose the idea of maybe what happens in the 1950s in America, where the man went to work and the woman was staying home, and then all of a sudden there was the feminine movement where the women went to work, and then now there was no deep spiritual integrity and deep support. The woman was working also, So this is probably a whole other side conversation and subject, but the idea, like, I like Yogi Bhajan saying, he says, if you're a woman, you're on one of your last lives. And what I like about that is that it's almost like as men, we're immature and we're growing into this. We're learning how to tap into our femininity, and it's confronting because we've been taught to do a certain thing and act a certain way and dress a certain way and be a man and not cry and not show emotion. And as we get older, we recognize from the feminine, wow, it's okay to cry. I can cry in front of you and you'll accept me and keep me and hold me and love me and still tell me that I'm your, because we're supposed to be your wall, your fortress, So we are growing into those things, and we need the feminine to share how to do that, per se. You are actually our role model in that aspect, and I can make the money and keep the lights on and feed the kids and give you whatever you need, but deep down inside I need like this spiritual nourishment, which a lot of men probably don't get, and then they feel unsupported, and then they go and they cheat or they do things out of alignment and out of integrity. So to come back to your question fully, I truly believe, especially for me as an individual, I need support, I need help, and I need compassion in my evolution. Okay, and I need you to spit in my mouth.
I bring that one back home.
Thank you for making it playful again at the end. No, I really appreciate everything that you shared, Oliver, because it's so true. What you're talking about. So that does everybody know the story of the Grail, like the mythology of the Grail, is what you're speaking to. So like the idea is that so there's this emperor, right? And he has a dream, about a woman in a red castle, and he's like, oh, I need this woman, bring her to me. They find her and they're like, she goes, I'm not coming to you. You can come to me. And he's like, fine, I need you in my life. So he goes on a quest. He goes on his Grail quest. And along the Grail quest, along the way, he finds himself. And when he gets to her, she deems him worthy or unworthy. And in the end of this Grail quest, she says, you are worthy. You've come to the end of your trials. And then they get married. But she's the representation of the land. The Grail is the yoni, anyways, I'm so excited. This is what I get really excited about. Anyways, yeah.
One thing though, I read this yesterday actually, to bring this full circle, what both of you guys spoke about, it's just a quote on Instagram, and it said that the purpose of a woman is to help the man come closer to God, and the purpose of the man is to create safety so she can do that.
Yes.
And I was like, damn.
That is it. But a woman has to allow the man to go on his journey, and he has to revere her as like she is a sacred land, right? And so thank you for that, because like that is it. I fucking want a Grail king. That is what I'm looking for, right? So
and I want you.
I don't know about that. We're gonna find out.
It's very complicated, to find a partner in this day and age. You can, Tinder or whatnot, but like, the Grail is holy, and it takes it's a conquest to go, and people have to set out on that mission, and they have to be conscious and aware that they're on this mission, and that this takes time.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm way better than I was 10 years ago. I'm way better than I was 20 years ago.
too.
And I'm still not where I want to be. And I still haven't found my queen because I'm still on my grail quest. You know?
And it doesn't necessarily end either, right? You just find someone to go along with you at a certain point, right? That's how it also works.
I love that, because a lot of people quantify the success of their relations with another partner in duration of time.
Mm-hmm.
Every relationship I've been in, I yield the benefits of the depth that we go. And then the benefits of the depth that we go is when I realize we have done the job for each other. Like, we have gotten to each other to that next stage of where we need to go. And the job is somewhat finished. And instead of breaking up and causing this whole calamity and, you know, all the drama that's involved with this because we feel unworthy, because these are all childhood, precedents that have been prescribed to us to a certain degree, like, we have to realize if a guy breaks up with you, maybe you can look at, was I holding up the value, or was I as good as I could be? Or was the job done and he gave you what you needed to evolve, and did you give him what he needed to evolve to get to that next place? And I will say from personal experience that every relationship that I've been has gotten better. And the woman that I find next is going to be even better than the last woman, because I'm evolving and I'm attracting the women that are evolving also in my sphere, And I'm not, we talk about spirituality as patience, and, the being on the journey is to sit in meditation is arduous, and to do yoga every day it's a practice.
Takes that work.
So life is a practice, and we're evolving in that practice. And so when I'm evolving in that practice, I'm also evolving as a man. And when I get there, the right woman will appear. And I'm not impatient to achieve that at this stage right now, because I'm this age, because I'm beyond the prescribed notions of what society tells me I need to do, And so as a conscious individual, which I like to think I'm conscious, but maybe I'm unconscious, but the point is that I'm not in a rush. If and when I complete my quest, my grail journey, the queen is going to be there,
Nice one.
Your list, Aaron.
Very similar to yours, because I feel like it's kind of like, where am I going? Who's coming with me? But also, where are we going? So I want somebody to support. I want support because I want to do a bunch of shit. I want to be on my mission to live a big, full life and build things. I like building things, but I also want to build something with someone and build together. So we got to be going the same direction. We got to be not to be at the same level, but let's just go the same way. And also, I always notice this is like I always wanted to be nurtured, because I'm doing a lot and holding a lot and talking to a lot of people every day and managing a lot, that when I want to come home, I just want a safe little igloo of like, let's do us. And that's something that's really important to me, is that nurturing. Then as I've grown in my development, I need to learn how to nurture myself. It's like, I can't offload my nurturing. So that's why I take baths. But like, it really is important because I need to be able to nurture myself and embody my own feminine. But I see that I carry this polarity. I want that polarity as well. Like, I'm attracted to that. So I'm attracted to a feminine. I like that. That excites me. And so I want that support. I want the emotional support. I want someone to also cheer me on. I like that. Like, I like to be someone that's engaged in what I do, and that also finds me hilarious, because like, I want to fuck around. I want to joke around. Obviously, I'm a joker.
You're a clown.
Exactly. And so I like to have that that playfulness. It's really important that we can be friends, as well as super hot, passionate sex, as well as practical. We're building together. She shares my ambitions. So those are like the things I like in that sense. I think that kind of encapsulates most of it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Dora, how about you, man?
I mean, I'm gonna echo a lot of what you guys are saying. I think one thing that's very present for me, I have a very addictive personality. So if I start playing video games, for example, it's so easy to just go all in. And if I start meditating and getting into really good practice, it's very easy to like, kind of, that becomes a very big part of life. If I start working, I'll easily work 14 hours a day because I'm just so excited and kind of really zone in and sort of disconnect from God. More easy for me to end up going, yeah, let's go get drunk this weekend and kind of have a party. And so having my female partner be able to pick up on those things and sort of help me come back to my center, help me ground. Another thing is like I'm super adventurous. I literally want to do everything. I want to have a bullet ant sting me just to feel the pain and like document it and share it on YouTube and Instagram. But I want to skydive, and I want her to be like down to like go on those crazy adventures. And if she's not gonna have the bullet ant sting her, she's just there like supporting me, like watching.
Calling the doctor. Yeah, honey, let me call an ambulance.
You want to have the bullet ant sting you, hon? No? Okay, just watch. But, Thor, what was your most successful relationship?
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a second.
wow.
The last thing I'll say is I also don't want it to be that when I pull up to some place, everybody's like, oh shit, there's Thor. I want it to be, oh shit, there's Thor in her. And I want, like, if there's a setting and she's got like shit to say and she's obviously like, she's powerful, I'm like, yo, go girl, like fucking do your thing, like dominate this room, like I'm fucking all for it.
So
sovereign woman.
Yeah, so see,
You want a virgin.
that's where I'm contradicting myself. And like you say, I've actually never been in a relationship, so I'm like very new to this. I'm learning. I'm learning a lot, and so I've learned so much just sitting here listening to you guys, and it's fucking amazing. But yeah, that's what I want.
Thank you.
I appreciate hearing you all be honest in what you want and what you need. It is refreshing. Thank you.
Totally.
It's already 2 hours.
Wow.
So
Good talk.
I could echo pretty much all of this, but I want to go a little bit into a different direction, what I think is extremely important, at least for the woman that I want, which is respect and loyalty and emotional maturity. I feel like way too often I was ending up in situations where, we're playing the savior type of role and have to carry certain aspects of like her just going through her own motions, which has nothing to do with me, but I'm ending up being the punching bag for all of it. And that's just something I cannot accept anymore. I feel like a woman that wants to be my queen needs to have a certain amount of emotional maturity and respect, and she doesn't like end up making a bunch of drama here at the dinner table. Those are like certain things that in a sacred relationship, an intimate, beautiful container, that's absolutely important, or it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Word.
Totally.
Can't be fighting in public, man. That's a no.
Right?
Can't
Yeah,
be
it's
doing
a
that.
huge
Can't
no.
be doing that.
Well, you want-
What grade are we in?
You-
know?
Yeah,
What you want-
yeah.
well,
I
but the
agree,
reality
like,
is-
it happens all the time, right?
does.
You see
You
it all the
Can't be
time,
doing
even
that.
just being in a
Can't be
restaurant.
doing that, man.
You want a woman.
Yeah.
You don't want a girl.
Yeah.
You want a
Correct.
woman.
We
Yeah.
want women
Yeah.
and you guys
It's
want
so-
men, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Why? We just talked about this for
is
2
it so
hours.
hard?
Well, we want it to
Why
be
is it so
hard,
hard?
right?
Yeah.
I guess that's how you
Time and
grow,
place.
right?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Because you keep mentioning this thing about sovereign women. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means to me that I've got my life, and as a man, we're very goal oriented, and we
Is that the ego?
I think that's how we're wired.
I think it's ego, and I think it also
Biological.
Ego is not necessarily a bad thing. Again, we have to recognize that.
Yeah.
If the ego is a stumbling block, then yes. But I feel like my ego has helped me grow into who I am, and it's also held me back. But that's part of the journey is uncovering that. So I want to be on my mission. I want the support from my woman, and I want her to be on her mission, and I want to support her. And like Thor said, when I walk into the place, it's not me walking into the place, it's us walking into the place, and we are coming in there together as a unit. And that's, this whole beautiful idealized concept of a power couple, And so as a sovereign woman, you're powerful, and you're very powerful, Sophia. That's a very attractive thing. You're sovereign, you're on your mission, you're doing what you need to do, And as a man, that's very attractive because it's not.
I think that's not always the case. Because I have a lot of friends who are in a similar situation that I am, and they are very independent, very successful, beautiful, brilliant, all things, and they have a really hard
Well, they're
time
choosing the wrong
finding
men.
Because men are intimidated by this.
For sure, but that's
So
the wrong
I
man.
hear
Those
men
guys are
say,
bitches.
"That's
It's
what I
hard
want,"
to
and I'm like,
find-
"Okay," and then I feel like midgets.
but
Intimidated. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I actually just want someone to support me.
We're all polarized, right? So it's a conundrum because I want in a sense the opposite of polarity, of the feminine, right? But if I'm intimidated by my feminine, I'm not a fully integrated masculine.
Yeah.
And so
That's it.
I want my woman to be in power. Actually, I want my woman to really be in power. To be honest, that's one of the most important things. I'm recapitulating what I said. I want my woman to have power. in the dynamic. But ultimately, it's not a power that's like controlling. It's a power that's infusing the beauty of our relating.
A healthy
Thank you.
relationship
She
with
embodied.
power.
And it's that sovereignty, you know, is she knows where she's going, she knows what she's doing, she's sitting there, she's like, she's poised, she's really a goddess, she's really a queen. And I'm there at her service, and in the same retrospect, I'm still on my mission, providing, being with my friends, you know, and involving as a man. Because I'm on my journey, you know? And that's the woman that I am calling in.
Sovereign, in French, la reine is the queen. The sovereign, she is the queen. That's it. It's really like that energy to hold. That's the grail. That's like the yoni. That's like the womb holds all of it and like leads from a space of being, not from telling, not from like direct, like that's also coming at it from the masculine. It's like the queen sits there and goes, I love you as you are. This is how it is, and do your thing. I don't need it. Yeah, it's.
Okay,
I get
I'll give
it.
you a basic example. I had a girlfriend once, and I was young and maturing, but we were at the bar. She was calling me. Where the fuck are you? Get the fuck home right now. And I'm like, she's pissed, you know. And I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna leave my friends, which are really having a good time, and this is a nice time, and I'm gonna go home to an angry woman. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
That sounds really fun. What are you talking about?
And I was like, even young, trying to like, understand the situation. I was like, if she was like, hey, honey, I'm home. I'm in the silk bed, the giant California king silk bed. I'm clean, like naked. I'm at home. You know? I'd be like, sitting around looking at my friends drinking a beer and be like,
Peace, homies.
To me, that's the power dynamic. That's the queen. That's like controlling me in such the subtlest, softest, most sensual way. That's actually doing the best for me, because sitting there drinking with my buddies isn't the best thing for me, actually. You know. So she's enticing me and influencing me to do what's best for me in the best way, not yelling at me saying, come the fuck home right now.
Not
Because
shamefully.
I do not want to go home to an angry woman.
Well, also a queen, like the word queen in itself comes with a lot of grace.
Yeah.
If a woman is screaming at me and is getting super angry, she's not graceful.
not a queen.
Well, it depends.
She's not a queen.
Well. I'm not
Period.
saying that she's but if she's yelling at you, that's one thing. If she's angry, she's valid in her anger, right? I'm not. This is all like out of This is all out of context.
I don't know.
No.
At the
We
end
don't
of the
know
day, the reality is we don't know what the situation is, but a woman is valid in her anger. She is not valid for making her partner wrong and ridiculing him or them. It doesn't like that. That's different. But a man is like, she's angry. Like I see
what you're saying, which is that like it's like you're almost like you're expecting the woman to never have like any negative emotions.
That's
in that
thank-
way,
That's
thank
which
you.
isn't fair.
expectation, but
That's-
emotional regulation and emotional
Yes.
responsibility
Thank you.
is super important. Like,
Teach me about your emotions and how I can relieve them or help them or assist them, but not in a way that it deters me from wanting to do that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
I agree with
appreciate
that too.
I appreciate that context. But yeah, I should.
Because
Anger is
women are
valid.
very emotional, and that's a very beautiful thing. And not all women, but you guys have a closer contact with your emotions than we do.
Yeah.
Okay, and so
Generally,
it's
yes.
beautiful, and
We're
that's
allowed
where we
to.
learn. If you teach us, like I had a mother who was very allowing. Okay, so in my dynamic with, it does come down to a lot of parental situations, upbringings, your wherever you're born, right? And that's gonna base a lot of how you see relations and sexuality, And my mom gave me the space for me to respect the space, instead of trying to control me, which I would have normally and do in relationship now, is I would eject from the situation or I push back from the controlling factor. If you give me the space, and then I can be aware of your emotional mood, then I can know how to navigate it, And ultimately, another thing for women, anybody who's watching this, and for you women, teach us how to navigate the emotions so that we don't come into it like a blabbering retard, you know, because we are not so smooth. we're, you know, maybe you can't say that word these days. I don't know. I live in
You can't say retard these days, bro. That's like fucking. That's a red card. I mean, that's not PC.
But I'm retarded in my notions of how to navigate emotions.
Fair.
You know. So
yeah,
you know, I'm not saying
the
it's
actual
a physical thing. It's actually I'm mentally and incapable of knowing how to navigate emotions. So teach me how to navigate your emotions, so that that I don't press a button and that I don't step on your toe and that I don't hurt you or offend you. And then we create a mountain out of a molehill.
I appreciate that when it's like, I'm just angry right now. I just need to be angry for a few minutes. You don't have to fix it. And I'm like, okay, great. Like, at least I know what to do. And I'm like, I can do that. Do you want some water? Like, you know, like that. That's helpful.
You want a pillow and a bat?
Yeah. Like, what do you need?
Yeah.
You know, that's
I think that is really fair. And I appreciate the dialogue. And because again, it's just, when it comes back to what you said, Sasha, about a queen is graceful. You're right. She has to, but this comes back to work that women have to do. We have to be able to access our emotions, and we have to be able to express it and communicate it in a way that is safe.
And that someone can actually receive it.
Yes.
Because if a woman is screaming at any man, they're shutting down. It's like,
well, if anybody, my dad was very angry growing up. So if anybody is screaming, it doesn't matter if you're male or female bodied. It does not matter. Anger is terrifying, and I get it. So I think
lashing out is ever okay.
And again, not to go back to the business analogy, but like, you know,
let's go back there.
In my business partnerships, when my business partner supports me 90% of the time, it's like we're in a pretty congruent business relationship.
Hit those KPIs.
Right? But that 10%, every once in a while, he's going to say, no, absolutely not. That's not it. That's not what we're going to do. And I'm going to respect that. But if you hit me with that 50% of the time, I'm confused. Because I'm like, wait, I'm trying to do this business. I'm trying to, you know, grow us. I'm trying to, you know, do the best I can do. But 50% of the time, I'm getting rejected.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to somewhat, in a weird way, delegate your rejection to a certain point, like a small point, like have it be integral and have it be honest. Like, I'm really pissed off about this, and you should really know that this really bothers me. And then I'm going to go, absolutely. I'm so sorry that I crossed that threshold, and I'm going to not do that again. But if you do that to me on a habitual basis,
of course,
then I can't know where I stand.
Of course, that's totally fair.
And we're not getting anywhere.
No.
Well, you do know where you
ROIs.
Taking those L's, babe.
You know that.
KPIs.
ROI, yeah, we're trying to investment. There you go. Yeah, that's a thing. That's also a thing. Yeah, you got it.
Well, I think that this is what I'm still like so interested in. I know it's been like over 2 hours now, but like we started talking about hoes, and now we're in like depth, like relationship, like relational work, right? And like, it's just at the end of the day, sex is beautiful and it's important, but people want to be connected. People want depth.
And we're all hoes.
And we're all hoes.
Other than Sophia, sorry.
Even the Mormons.
She's conservative.
The Mormons are not hoes, but
Come on,
they would
say
be if they
something.
could
You have
be.
something to
Soaking
say.
is
Say it.
debatably.
They would be if they could be.
Everything conservative to be. Yeah. Yeah. Cool, guys. That was
Perfect.
fun.
Good chat, y'all.
2
It's
hours
just porn.
over.
Oh my God.
over
It's called England.
Scene.
What?
Thank you, man. Thor, thank you, brother.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Sharing a little bit of your story.
Yeah.
Aaron, obviously, thank you for the place, Karma House, and everything that we were able to. Just remodeling the whole place over here a little
Thanks
bit.
for coming or holding it, whatever. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming as well.
Yeah. Likewise.
You know,
We did come.
Thank you. I was like waiting. I was like, that was
as a
low-hanging fruit.
as a
Go
final,
to sleep.
shut up.
Was that good for
As
you?
a final note, I really love the fact that you're like, hey, look, I'm learning so much in this.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of about these conversations is like, if you really bring men and women together and to have these open, honest, raw conversations and allowing these different viewpoints to exist, we're actually bringing each other so much closer together and actually closer to ourselves too, because we have so many more data points
This is dope.
available. Right?
Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you,
So,
Sasha.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Danke.
Thank you,
Danke,
ladies,
danke,
for
yes.
sharing so much
Yeah.
depth with what you guys want, and I hope that we can all
I got
show up.
some downloads out of that. It was really good. Like actually good, informative talks. Thank you.
And some
Thank
fun
you
too,
all.
right?
Yeah.
Now let's spit in each other's mouth, right?
Not me, bro.